Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to our live 10 Questions with series, during which we sit down with entrepreneurs and business leaders to hear about their journeys and the lessons they've learned along the way, of course, to impart some advice for all of us in our individual journeys, too. Now, today I'll be chatting with Jimmy Gould. He's the founder of SoapStandle, a company that aims to get rid of the goo we all hate from bar soap and help the planet while doing it. Yes, it's a stand for your bar soap. We'll find out how Jimmy came up with this unique idea, the challenges that come with such a unique product, and how he overcame them. We'll also discuss why he decided to manufacture in the United States, SoapStandle's biggest accomplishments to date, and how Netsuite will continue to support the business throughout its global growth. I'm excited to get right to it, but before I invite Jimmy on, a reminder for all of you tuning in. If you have any questions throughout today's conversations, use the comments to give them to us. We want to hear what you have to say. We want to know what you're asking, and Jimmy is ready to answer all of your questions and more. And hey, if you don't have any questions, just give us a shout out. Tell us where you're tuning in from, and we'll say hello right back. Now, without further ado, please join me in a very warm, albeit virtual, welcome for Jimmy Gould. Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Kendall.
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. Thanks for joining us. I gave a brief introduction to SoapStandle, but I always have to ask our founders to give their own elevator pitch. So this isn't part of the 10 questions, but really quick, can you give us the elevator pitch for SoapStandle? What is it?
Sure. SoapStandle is an incredibly simple thing, but it's very effective too. It's a small oval that has points on one side that goes into the bottom of a bar of soap. That creates a platform from which all the water can drain from the bar. And when the water drains, it's not still saturating the bar where goo develops. So there's no goo on the bar. Since the bar isn't disintegrating into goo, there's no mess on your sink counter or shower ledge. Since it's not disintegrating prematurely, the bar lasts about 30% longer.
Yeah.
And the connection with your fingers through the bottom of the SoapStandle, it's a contoured surface, is a really comfortable grip, so the bar doesn't slip out of your hands. So
all
it's very
great
simple,
things.
but yeah, it solves a lot of things in one small package.
For sure. And I know we're going to get into, some of the trends right now, especially, with the banning of single-use plastics in California and in Europe. So we'll get into all of that. But that is actually a perfect segue. Your little elevator pitch is a perfect segue to question number one, which I think we're all probably asking, and it might seem obvious, but how'd you come up with this idea?
Well, it was really a result of dropping a bar of soap in the shower when my hip was hurting. I have a great hip now. I had a hip replacement. But I think the genesis of this was one morning when it was difficult to bend down and pick up a slippery bar of soap. And I just thought there should be a way to not drop a bar. So I got some modeling clay, created a little oval, put some points on one side, stuck it in the oven and fired it, and then put that on the bottom of a bar of soap. That friction with that oval was enough for the bar to not slip out of your hand. But what I noticed over time, over the next week, was that the goo that normally would be on the side of that tub no longer was there. I thought, wow, that's nice. And then after another week or two, I noticed it seems like that bar is lasting longer. So that was something that I could measure. So I tested that against a bar without anything on it, and it lasted about 30% longer. So that's when I thought this might be something. And we went from there.
Now, were you surprised? This is not one of my questions, but a follow-up, a 1A, I'll call it. Were you surprised that something like this didn't exist?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I thought it did exist, probably somewhere. Soap's been around for 4,000 years. And over that time, I was pretty confident that I would find it if I looked hard enough. So I started looking in stores. I looked online. I looked throughout the US. I looked in Europe. I couldn't find it. So between that and the confidence that I had that it worked, and then feedback from friends that it worked, I decided to to take it a step further.
Yeah, I mean, again, segues great to question number 2, which is, was there any industry trends or research, aside from the personal research that you did, that pointed to this idea of being successful?
Well, it mostly was the personal experience and the experience of friends that I gave it to. You know, as we talked about, I couldn't find it. So, but when you think about just how, you know, what a common experience bar soap is, I guess the research that I did do was, what about liquid soap? And I discovered that is such kind of an environmental train wreck as far as the plastic packaging, the materials that go into the packaging, the carbon footprint that it creates in transporting what is essentially 70% water. So those were all good reasons to use bar soap. But the single, in that initial research, what I did discover is that the single biggest reason consumers give for using liquid soap instead of bar soap is to avoid soap mess and goo. So if I had something that solved that, then that was a path for people to go back to bar soap. And we're
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you didn't have a career in manufacturing prior to this, right? So how'd you make this happen?
Well, my background is finance and sales. Did that for a long, long time. But my dad was an engineer, and he exposed me to manufacturing principles and just how things work. And since I was a little kid, I've been interested in trying to figure out a better way to do something. So I guess that was all deep background for looking at a problem and trying to find a solution. And so that's when, you know, I went down this path. And once it seemed clear that this wasn't around, and the SoapStandle in its even early form was really effective, that's when I went through the trouble of investigating the patent and discovering that there was nothing out there like it, and to go to the expense of securing that.
And then you decided to manufacture in the United States. What are the benefits of doing that?
Well, just the first one is that it's what people want and expect. I mean, I guess maybe they don't expect it, but they really like it when they discover that it's made in the U.S. And we could manufacture for probably a third of the cost in Asia, but we certainly wanted to introduce it as U.S. made and developed, and it's made right outside of Chicago, and they do a great job. So it's nice to have a handle on that quality control, to just the timing of when we get a purchase order, turn that around, get started on the manufacturing side of it, have the printing done, everything comes together. There's a lot of concern over timing that we have a much better handle on if everything's domestic. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, manufacturing aside, after you got the product and you started making it, what would you say what was your biggest challenge in actually launching the business?
Well, I guess there were a few. One being that I have no background in manufacturing, in packaging, in marketing. I mean, the list of things I'm unqualified in, or at least were at the time, is pretty long. I was good at sales and I was good at finance, but just taking it step by step and talking to a lot of different people and asking for help. There are a lot of resources out there, and people are very willing to help you. So that was great. It was terrific to introduce this at the America's Mart show in Atlanta. That's just, feet on the ground, tons of potential wholesale customers coming by, giving you feedback in the moment. And that helped me get a good start on what would be accepted and what I needed to emphasize.
And you guys also sell, direct to consumer. So how do you go about exposure? I mean, how do you go about creating your own category and then attracting customers to it?
Well, we're still trying to figure that out. We're on Amazon, and and of course that's a fantastic platform to be exposed to millions of people. It's expensive to get in front of the right eyeballs, particularly when you don't fit cleanly into one category. I mean, a SoapStandle performs some of the functions of a soap dish, or at least what many soap dishes try to accomplish. But it does more than that. So that's not a clean fit. So advertising on Amazon to those keywords is kind of some wasted motion. And so that it's pretty expensive. On Facebook, we haven't cracked the code yet. We have tried there, and we're still there. And then we're also at SoapStandle.com, but we haven't really done that much outside of Facebook and Amazon yet. But going slowly, trying to put in place what we've learned to do and to not do, we'll get there. But at the moment, by far the most successful aspect is wholesale. And there's one soap company, online soap company, Dr Squatch, that has taken the SoapStandle in, markets it as its own custom name called a gripper, the Squatch gripper. And they've been very successful with it. Their customers love it. And we couldn't be happier with the relationship.
How has that partnership with Dr. Squatch impacted growth and future planning for you guys?
Well, it's given us the room to look at additional molds to purchase to come out with different shapes. It's allowed us just really the chance to expand both spending money on advertising, Facebook, Amazon, trying to establish relationships in Europe. So it's just, it's working with them, thank goodness. and it's also, aside from the financial aspects of selling Dr. Squatch a lot of grippers, it's affirmation that this works and that they've got, hundreds of thousands of customers that like it and are embracing it. So that gives me a lot of confidence that we can pursue other avenues and have it work as well.
Of course. Now you already kind of mentioned this, but you have an e-commerce platform. We sell through Amazon. You distribute to various boutiques. So Amazon and Facebook, you said, have been kind of the most successful and the most lucrative. Why do you think that is? Well,
I mean, they've got tremendous platforms, and they've figured a lot of stuff out already. As far as SoapStandle.com, the margins are better there for me if I can figure that out. And I've got some people that I've just started working with, and I'm optimistic towards that end. But yeah, I mean, Facebook and Amazon sell a lot of merchandise, so they've got it figured out, and they allow me to tag along.
That's great. I want to take a pause here for a second. We have a couple more questions left, but for everybody who is tuning in, don't forget to ask your questions for Jimmy or anything you want to ask about SoapStandle, and we will get to them at the end of our conversation here in a few minutes. Keep asking your questions and we'll get to them. And then again, if you don't have any questions, make sure you shout out to us. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Give us a hello, a ciao, a bonjour, whatever it may be. We want to shout out right back to you. And again, we'll get to as many of you as we possibly can. And with that, Jimmy, question number 9, why did you decide to implement Netsuite last year?
Well, I can do a number of things well, but being organized is not one of them. So I need help. When I was in the finance world, I had a big support system behind me. All I had to do was go talk about bonds and sell. And when a transaction occurred, there were people behind me that would facilitate that settlement. Everything went smoothly. Everything was great. When we had products that needed to be marketed, that was handled. If something came up with legal, that was handled. Now I'm wearing all these hats. And so I need really kind of an external brain for me to keep up with everything. So I started looking at different platforms to provide that help, from pretty simple things to much more robust systems. And I was impressed with what NetSuite offered, but it was really the initial NetSuite sales team that was so good, and just really addressed all of those questions. I talked to current customers, and they kind of sold me at the end, that they were like, this is effective, the team is good, the support network is significant. So, it's helped us a lot, and I just made the choice that it could help me too.
Yeah. I know obviously it's still new with NetSuite, but we're curious. Question number 10, where are you looking to grow in the future, and how will NetSuite help you get there?
Well, bar soap is used all over the world, and there's gooey soap all over the world. And I think that once people are exposed to this incredibly simple tool, that there are people all over the world that will want to have it. For me to pursue a lot of those different markets, I've got to have a handle on what's going on, both accounting and inventory levels and things in the process, and prospects and customers, and just there's a lot to keep up with. And there's no way I can pursue double or triple, or I hope far beyond that, numbers of revenue if I don't have something really robust in place. And so that's what I'm seeing with NetSuite, although I'm not using 5% yet of the capabilities there. But I'm excited about what it's going to allow me to do.
Love that. Love to hear that. I can't believe it, Jimmy, but we've already come to, that was it. That was the 10 questions, but we have some questions coming in from the audience. We have people that are saying a lot. So let me dive into that really quick. So first, from Daniela, I'm one to never buy bar soap for that exact reason. I'm guessing the goo, but this is very innovative and I love it. Thank you, Daniela. From ZZ, SoapStandle is a staple now at our house. No more plastic bottles, with a happy face. That's great. Great to hear. Just like you said, not only are people using bar soap all over the world, we're also trying to, be better to our planet. So that's incentive right there. Roberta from San Rafael saying hello. I hope I get this right, but Moshi from Israel, Shalom from Israel. Hello, thank you so much for tuning in. And a couple questions here. So from Deepak, how are you reaching out to targeted audience or customers? Maybe that's on Facebook or whatever it may be, but good question there.
Yeah, and that's part of what we're trying to figure out, certainly. And the more that we can drill down into who that perfect customer is, the more effective we're going to be at ad spend. But that's also, that describes part of the problem, is trying to drill down to that, because 62% of households in the United States still buy bar soap. So it's not just, females 50 to 70 that are buying bar soap. There are a bunch of millennials that have recently kind of encountered bar soap as a result of the aversion to the plastic packaging. They've used body wash their whole lives. And now they look at bar soap, and they may be more interested in some of the higher end bars, or more custom crafted bars. They really appreciate the fact that this bar of soap that they really like, it smells great, it's great for their skin, but it's kind of expensive. If they can make that last 30% longer, that's a great thing. So we would love to zero in on who is that perfect customer and spend all our ad money there. But that's going to leave a lot of people out. So that's not a great answer. We're working on it, but it's the users range in such a broad spectrum. We haven't just targeted one yet.
Yeah. Makes sense. And I actually happened to see that you recently added pink to your product line, and I couldn't help but think millennial pink. We are buying soap, more bar soap than ever before, and that millennial pink was spot on. I love it.
Right. Yeah. Well, the pink, and we're going to come out with a curved version of SoapStandle. Right now, it's just flat, so it works best on flat bars. You can use it on a curved bar, but the new curved design will be terrific on an ivory bar or caress, or I mean, there are lots of the big commercially, mass-produced bars that are curved. So I think that's gonna help a lot. And then we've just converted from a recyclable material to a post-consumer recycled material. So that puts us on the little better side of the conversation as far as the environmental questions are concerned.
Amazing. We love to hear that. All right, some more shout outs coming in from Nicole. SoapStandle has been such a great gift to give friends and family. That's awesome. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
Danielle is asking, what kind of robots do you have at your manufacturing facility, if any? Asking for a friend with a happy face.
Well, the injection mold process hasn't changed a lot in the last, I don't think it's changed a lot. Certainly they've refined how they do it. It's a faster process, but it's still injecting the material, forming in the mold, that being ejected. So I don't think there's a lot of robotics that are involved in that process. But as far as packaging is concerned, we're still doing all of that by hand. And as we get to the volumes that we hope to reach in the not too distant future, then that will get much more into the automated and robotic type approach.
Awesome. Mike says, sounds like you had a fire SRT consultant. Thanks, Mike. And then one more question here from Easton in Los Angeles. What advice do you have for someone with a great idea, but who's just scared to go for it?
Just try. I think about my kids all the time because, and everyone does this with their kids. You tell them, just try that. It doesn't matter. Try it. And then if it doesn't work out, learn something from it and try again. And then as we become adults and get enmeshed in our careers and we become a lot more risk averse. So that doesn't mean that you have to go out and quit your job tomorrow to do something, but carve out a little time, try it, think about, how you can test the waters. Everyone's got great ideas, but lots of times we don't pursue them. So I had a lot of ideas before this, but this just seemed to say, keep it going and see where it can go.
That's awesome. Well, on that note, Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome conversation.
Thanks a lot. It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. And as always, to all of you who are tuning in, a huge thank you. We wouldn't be here without you. And I want to make sure that you keep coming back for more. We actually moved this series to bi-weekly, so every other week, and we'll be back here in 2 weeks on July 27th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific with a very, very, very special guest, the one and only Evan Goldberg. Yes, the founder of Netsuite will be on with us on July 27th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific to discuss the 5-year Oracle acquisition of Netsuite. I cannot believe it's already been 5 years. There's a lot to go over. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of awesome opportunities for our customers. So we'll dive into all of that and more. So definitely mark your calendars again, July 27th at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Can't wait to see you then. Bye.